Hello and welcome, dear learners. Today our topic is on equity. Equity is a concept that lies at the heart of fairness, social justice and inclusive development. While equality focuses on treating everyone the same, equity goes a step further by recognizing differences in social position, gender, opportunity and access to resources. In this lecture, we will develop a clear, gender-sensitive and practical understanding of equity and its role in addressing real-life social inequalities. Now let us have a look on objectives. To understand the concept and key dimensions of equity, to analyze equity from a gender-sensitive perspective in diverse social contexts, to examine the role of equity in promoting social justice and inclusive development, to apply equity-based approaches to address real-life social and gender inequalities, and to develop a critical and gender-sensitive understanding of equity for policy, practice and social transformation. Now, objective number 1. Understanding the concept and key dimensions of equity. Let us begin by understanding what equity actually means, its characteristics and key dimensions. The concept of equity has been discussed since ancient times. Aristotle was one of the earliest thinkers to explain that justice does not mean treating everyone equally, but treating people according to their needs and circumstances. In modern thought, scholars like John Rawls emphasized fairness, equal opportunities, and special concern for disadvantaged groups. Equity refers to fairness in the distribution of resources, opportunities, and responsibilities. Unlike equality, which applies the same treatment to everyone, equity recognizes that people start from unequal positions due to social, economic, and cultural factors. Therefore, fairness requires differential support. Dear students, in order to understand the exact nature of equity, let us highlight some important characteristics of equity. Fairness based on need. The most fundamental characteristic of equity is fairness. Equity does not mean treating everyone the same. Rather, it means providing support according to individual and group needs. Those who face greater disadvantages require greater assistance to achieve fair outcomes. Recognition of diversity and difference. Equity acknowledges that individuals and groups differ in terms of gender, class, caste, culture, ability, and socio-economic background. It respects these differences and considers them while designing policies and practices. Focus on unequal starting points. Equity recognizes that people do not begin from the same social position. Historical discrimination, poverty, and social exclusion create unequal starting points, and equity aims to correct these imbalances. Context-specific and flexible. Equity is not rigid or uniform. It is adaptable to different social, cultural, and economic contexts. What is equitable in one situation may not be equitable in another. Corrective and compensatory in nature. Equity involves corrective measures to address past and present injustice. Policies such as affirmative action, reservations, scholarships, and welfare schemes are compensatory tools aimed at restoring fairness. Gender-sensitive approach. Equity takes into account gender-specific experiences and challenges. It recognizes that women and marginalized genders face structural barriers and therefore require targeted support to ensure fair participation. Promotes social justice. Equity serves as a practical mechanism for achieving social justice. By addressing structural inequalities, it ensures dignity, inclusion, and equal worth for all individuals. Inclusive and participatory. Equity encourages the inclusion of marginalized groups in decision-making processes. Participation ensures that policies and programs reflect real needs and lived experiences. Outcome-oriented. While equality focuses on equal treatment, equity focuses on fair outcomes. The goal is to reduce gaps and ensure meaningful access to opportunities and resources. Empowerment focused. Equity aims at long-term empowerment rather than temporary relief. It strengthens individual capabilities, social participation, and self-reliance. Dynamic and evolving. Equity is not static. As social conditions change, equity-based approaches must evolve to address emerging forms of inequality. Ethical and rights-based. Equity is grounded in ethical principles and human rights. It emphasizes dignity, justice, and moral responsibility toward disadvantaged groups. Now let us talk about the key dimensions of equity, which include gender equity, economic equity, social and cultural equity, educational equity, and health equity. These dimensions highlight that fairness must be applied across all areas of life to reduce inequality and exclusion. Now let's explain these dimensions one by one. Number one, gender equity. Gender equity stands out as a vital aspect of equity since disparities based on gender are prevalent in nearly all societies. This aspect emphasizes fairness for individuals of all genders by acknowledging their distinct social roles, responsibilities, and challenges. Gender equity does not imply treating everyone identically. Rather, it involves offering support tailored to specific requirements. For instance, women and individuals with diverse gender identities may need focused policies to tackle issues like wage disparity, limited educational opportunities, unpaid caregiving, and gender-based violence. By addressing these systematic obstacles, gender equity fosters gender awareness and contributes to a more equitable and inclusive society. Number two, economic equity. Economic equity pertains to fairness in the distribution of income, job opportunities, and economic resources. Individuals are born into varying economic circumstances which profoundly affect their life prospects. The goal of economic equity is to bridge the gap between the affluent and the impoverished by assisting marginalized groups with fair wages, social safety nets, poverty alleviation initiatives, and access to employment opportunities. In the absence of economic equity, social disparities are likely to widen over time. Hence, this dimension is essential for empowering individuals to fulfill their basic needs and actively engage in social and economic activities. Number third, Social and cultural equity. Social and cultural equity tackles the inequalities stemming from social identities such as caste, class, ethnicity, religion, disability, and geographical location. Historically marginalized groups frequently encounter discrimination, exclusion, and inadequate representation. This aspect of equity is centered on fostering inclusion, dignity, and equal respect for all social groups. Initiatives like anti-discrimination legislation, affirmative action, and inclusive cultural representation are instrumental in mitigating social exclusion. Social and cultural equity bolsters social unity and ensures that diversity is honored within society. Number 4, educational equity. Educational equity highlights the importance of fair access to quality education for all students, irrespective of their social or economic status. While education is deemed a fundamental right, not all individuals have equal access to learning materials, safe environments, or supportive teaching methodologies. Educational equity encompasses offering scholarships, developing inclusive curricula, employing gender-sensitive teaching strategies, and providing assistance for students with special needs. By closing learning gaps and fostering equal opportunities, educational equity empowers individuals and promotes long-term social advancement. Number 5, health equity. Health equity is centered on guaranteeing that all individuals have a fair chance to attain good health. Health outcomes are frequently affected by factors such as gender, income, geographic location, and social standing. Health equity strives to eradicate preventable and unjust disparities in access to health care, nutrition, and mental health services. This includes prioritizing vulnerable groups and addressing the social determinants of health. By advocating for health equity, societies can enhance overall well-being and diminish inequality across generations. Now coming to objective number 2, analyzing equity from a gender-sensitive perspective. Gender sensitivity means understanding how socially constructed roles, expectations, and power relations affect individuals differently based on gender. Equity from this perspective recognizes that equal treatment does not always lead to fair outcomes. Women often face wage gaps, unpaid caregiving responsibilities, limited mobility, and exposure to violence. Men may face pressure to conform to rigid ideas of masculinity, while gender diverse individuals experience stigma and exclusion. A gender-sensitive approach to equity considers these lived realities. Equity does not aim to make all genders identical. Rather, it ensures fair access to rights, opportunities, and responsibilities based on specific needs. Gender equity challenges traditional power structure and promotes inclusive social systems. Various social contexts further shape how gender inequalities are perceived and experienced. Cultural traditions, religious beliefs, economic circumstances, and political frameworks differ across regions, influencing gender dynamics in unique ways. For instance, in certain communities, girls may be denied educational opportunities due to early marriage or safety issues, whereas in others, women may receive education but be barred from leadership and decision-making positions. A gender-sensitive approach enables equity to be assessed within these particular contexts, ensuring that responses are pertinent and effective rather than broad and disconnected from actual conditions. Education also showcases the significance of gender-sensitive equity. Although access to education has broadened worldwide, gender biases persist, affecting subject selection, classroom dynamics, and career pathways. Stereotypes often deter girls from engaging in science and leadership positions, while boys might be discouraged from pursuing careers associated with care and creativity. A gender-sensitive evaluation of equity underscores the importance of inclusive educational environments that challenge stereotypes and promote equal participation, enabling individuals to reach their full potential irrespective of gender. Health and well-being further demonstrates the necessity for a gender-sensitive approach to equity. Women may encounter obstacles to reproductive health care and nutrition. Men might refrain from seeking medical assistance due to societal expectations, and gender-diverse individuals can face discrimination within healthcare systems. From a perspective of social justice, gender-sensitive equity highlights the disparity between legal rights and real-world implementation. While numerous societies may guarantee equal rights theoretically, social conventions and institutional biases frequently hinder just outcomes. Gender sensitivity aids in pinpointing these discrepancies and fosters initiatives aimed at changing attitudes, policies, and institutions. It underscores the need for participation. Now, coming to objective number 3, examining the role of equity in social justice and inclusive development. Dear students, equity plays a central and indispensable role in promoting social justice and inclusive development. Social justice is based on the principle of dignity, fairness, and the equal worth of every individual. However, treating everyone equally does not always result in justice, because individuals and groups do not begin from the same social, economic, or cultural position. Equity functions as a practical mechanism to achieve social justice by correcting structural imbalances created by historical discrimination, exclusion, and unequal power relations. Equity ensures that marginalized and disadvantaged groups such as women, economically weaker sections, minorities, persons with disabilities, and socially excluded communities receive additional support and protection. This may take the form of affirmative action, welfare schemes, legal safeguards, or targeted social policies. By addressing unequal starting points, equity helps transform formal equality into real and meaningful justice. Inclusive development goes beyond economic growth and infrastructure expansion. It focuses on ensuring that development benefits all sections of society, especially those who have been left behind. Equity ensures fair access to essential services such as education, healthcare, employment, housing, and participation in decision-making processes. When development is guided by equity, it becomes people-centered rather than profit-centered. Education stands out as one of the most powerful instruments for social and inclusive development, and equity significantly amplifies its effectiveness. Although access to education has broadened globally, not all students benefit equally due to socio-economic barriers, gender expectations, and geographic limitations. Equity ensures that extra assistance such as scholarships, inclusive curricula, and conducive learning environments is given to those who require it most. By narrowing learning disparities, equitable education empowers individuals, boosts social mobility, and fosters long-term inclusive growth. Without equity, development often increases inequality, social exclusion, and unrest. In contrast, equity-based development promotes sustainability, participation, social cohesion, and long-term stability, making it a cornerstone of social justice and inclusive progress. It is crucial to understand that equity does not mean unjustly favoring one group over other. Rather, it aims to restore fairness and justice within unequal systems. By tackling the underlying causes instead of just the visible symptoms, equity-focused strategies foster lasting social change. They shift the emphasis from immediate relief to long-term empowerment, creating a development process that is more inclusive and compassionate. In practical situations, equity reshapes policies, institutions, and mindsets, ensuring that social advancements benefit everyone, particularly those who have faced historical marginalization. Now, objective number 4, applying equity-based approaches to real-life social and gender inequalities. Equity-based approaches are crucial for addressing real-life social and gender inequalities. In reality, individuals and groups do not start from the same position in society. Factors such as gender, caste, class, disability, geographic location, and cultural background significantly influence access to opportunities and resources. Therefore, treating everyone in the same manner often fails to reduce inequality and may even reinforce existing disadvantages. Equity-based approaches recognize these differences and aim to remove structural and systematic barriers. Instead of assuming equal access, they provide targeted support where it is most needed. Examples include scholarships for disadvantaged students, reservation policies, gender-responsive budgeting, inclusive education systems, safe and equitable workplaces, and access to legal and social support services. In the context of gender inequality, equity-based approaches address issues such as wage gaps, unpaid care work, workplace harassment, restricted mobility, and limited access to education and healthcare. By creating supportive environments such as childcare facilities, flexible work arrangements, and protective laws, equity enables fair participation of all genders. The ultimate goal of equity is not to favor one group unfairly, but to restore fairness within unequal systems. These approaches focus on long-term empowerment, dignity, and inclusion rather than temporary or symbolic solutions. Now the last objective is developing a critical and gender-sensitive understanding of equity. Equity requires a critical, reflective, and gender-sensitive understanding. A critical approach helps us examine how power structures, social norms, and institutional practices create and sustain inequality. Gender sensitivity allows us to understand how these inequalities affect different genders in distinct ways. Often, there is a gap between legal equality and lived experiences. While laws may guarantee equal rights, social customs, stereotypes, and institutional biases frequently prevent fair outcomes. Women, marginalized genders, and disadvantaged groups may continue to face discrimination despite constitutional or legal protections. Developing a gender-sensitive understanding of equity enables educators, policymakers, and citizens to design more inclusive, responsive, and context-specific policies and practices. It encourages questioning existing systems and advocating for change that reflects real social conditions. When equity is understood critically, it becomes more than a theoretical idea. It becomes a powerful tool for social transformation, promoting fairness, dignity, participation, and justice in all areas of life. To conclude, equity is a fundamental principle for building fair, just, and inclusive societies. It recognizes that individuals and groups start from different social, economic, and cultural positions and therefore require different levels of support to achieve fairness. Unlike equality, equity focuses on justice, dignity, and real opportunities for all. Through a gender-sensitive and critical understanding, equity helps address deep-rooted social and gender inequalities and promotes inclusive development and social justice. Thank you for your active participation. I hope this lecture has helped you develop a clear and meaningful understanding of the concept of equity and its relevance in real-life social contexts. Thank you once again, and I wish you all the very best in your learning journey.